program, I think the words of the SG should be very much fresh in your minds, so that will enable me to kind of move forward a little quicker than I had initially thought in going through some of this, because you've already heard some of what we've been doing in the historical part as regards the CIGF with the yeah, so I'll go through a quick review of our work in the internet governance, much of which the SG has already brought you up to date with. In fact, what I'll try to do is provide a little more details to what she would have presented a short while ago. So quick review, talk about some of the things going on now and going forward. Now the CG has been around since 1989, but in 2003, since 1989 dealing with basically telecommunications matters. But in 2003, given the convergence of technology and so on, we defined a new strategic direction to include the wider information and communication technologies. And to make that happen, we also expanded our membership categories to include not just governments of the region, but private sector members, civil society memberships, and so on. And in 2005, in fact in the period 2003 to 2005, the United Nations staged two major sessions of the World Summit on the Information Society. The first session was in Geneva in 2003, and the second and final session was in Tunis, in Tunisia in 2005. And in the run-up to that second session, we took an initiative in the Caribbean to try to harmonize our positions on this information society development to take to that final session of the WSIS in 2005. So in 2005, the CTU was requested by the CARICOM Secretariat to address issues of internet governance in the context of the Caribbean's input to this WSIS process in 2005. So we had our first meeting in Guyana in September of 2005 of this Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. And this is basically what we were discussing at the time, work coming out of the first session of the WSIS. And there was this working group on internet governance, WGIG, and we actually have persons from the Caribbean who sat on this working group and contributed to the development of this definition, which is pretty much globally accepted. I'm not seeing it in the room right now, but we had representatives from the Caribbean, from Barbados, from Trinidad and Tobago, I'm not sure Jamaica, in that group. But Bevel presented this definition yesterday, and basically it gave the understanding, or it communicated the message that the area of internet governance is very wide. It's technical, it is social, it is legal, it's a very broad scope. And the question was, okay, how do we in the Caribbean seek to deal with this and influence what's going on? And as Yeshi said, we decided we would deal with the issues that we felt were of the greatest priority to the Caribbean, and the issues that we felt would have the greatest, in which we could have the greatest impact. So since 2005, our goals have been to identify and focus on the Caribbean priority issues, formulate regional policies, and harmonize as far as possible. And then the action part that she mentioned, we sought to put into action the positions that we might have developed. So various thrusts through development of projects and further capacity building of our people in the Caribbean. And she made the very good example of the IXPs. But this is just a slide that shows some of the major achievements. We've held, this is now the 12th Caribbean IG Forum. And in that 12 years, we've actually also had an online facility, an online forum, which could have been used between the formal sessions of the CIGF for submitting comments, getting comments on documents, circulating documents, and so on. The CTU is in the process of upgrading its website, and we propose to bring back the facility for online collaboration, ongoing online collaboration related to internet governance issues and the other issues that the CTU deals with, whether it's spectrum management or ICT for persons with disabilities or whatever. So, just like we heard with the IGF, this move from an annual event to a practically continuous process of activities. We had that in the CTU before, but our technology has failed us a bit, and we are restoring that facility such that we can have an ongoing discussion on internet governance and other areas. We've also reached out to various levels of society, from ministerial all the way down to the man in the street, in terms of awareness raising and getting their inputs to some of the policy developments that we've undertaken. We've established partnerships with in the internet governance space with several regional and international internet organizations, many of which sponsor our annual forum. And the CTU's, pleased to say, the CTU's efforts have been recognized, and in 2012, our Secretary General Burnett was honored by LACNIC with a Lifetime Achievement Award in this internet governance space. We also have, I think, Bevel was also a recipient in a subsequent year. So people are seeing the benefits, the fruits of our work, and that helps to keep you going. So let me go back. The second bullet there talks about that we produce a Caribbean Internet Governance Policy Framework, and the SG mentioned it as well. So we sought not just to have a meeting and discuss issues, but also to document and circulate. So this document was first issued in 2009, and the second issue was issued in 2013, and we propose to make the third issue, 3.0, this year, with final inputs from this forum between today and tomorrow. And in terms of this document, I'll just quickly give a view of what it addresses. But this afternoon, the final session this afternoon is actually a workshop where we will do a deeper dive into the specifics of this policy framework document, such that you can understand what changes are proposed, and hopefully we can agree on them. The SG mentioned that it is a living document. And it is a high-level policy advisory document sourced from this multi-stakeholder community, compiled by the CTU. And some of the things it contains are a vision and a mission for internet governance in the Caribbean, policy-making principles and guidelines, what are the areas of highest priority, and what we do in the CTU is from time to time it is presented to our Executive Council and Conference of Ministers for information or endorsement, as the case might be. The intention is for that document to be used as a general reference for policy making in this space throughout the region. As mentioned, issue 2 was in 2013, and that was reviewed at the 9th CIGF in Curacao before it was issued. She did mention it as a living document, so when we talk about it later this afternoon, we will see what has maybe some of the issues that we propose to carry forward in the next cycle. The SG mentioned that we had identified 5 key strategic priority areas, and it has actually been expanded to 6, because the infrastructure for broadband connectivity, internet technical infrastructure, those are pretty much there from the outset. Legal frameworks and enforcement and internet content. In the initial issue of the framework, this was one category. But in the evolution of things, it was found necessary to split those out. So we now have 6 priority areas as opposed to 5. Public awareness and capacity building is still there, and the research is still there. We are going to get into, as I said, the deep dive this evening, so I'll just quickly flip through some of the status information in terms of broadband infrastructure. Or what have we done? We've basically been supporting our member states in building out their broadband infrastructure. The SG drew the very good example of IXPs, and I think it's more than 12. 10? 10. Okay, so it's more than 10. So we will still say more than 10. That's why I'll get that corrected. We've been able to build support at the political level for the development of these IXPs. We've also been, in the broadband infrastructure thing, the CTU has been assisting our members with national broadband plans and other such facilitating documents in order for them to make progress in these areas. In the internet technical infrastructure, we've been educating and advocating on IPv6, and we had a presentation up to yesterday from John Curran of ARIN. We've been supporting regional collaborations. Bevel mentioned the CARIBNOG, among others, and we continue to engage and participate in the policy procedures of the various internet organizations. Legal frameworks. In recent times, we've had a special focus on cybersecurity, and at this particular meeting yesterday, we even sought to build some capacity in the data protection area. So again, through partnerships, we've been able to push this. We've developed a Caribbean cybersecurity framework as well, in collaboration with the Organization of American States and the Commonwealth Secretariat. We work with law enforcement organizations or associations in the USA and elsewhere. And right now, in fact, we're collaborating with our CARICOM Impacts Group, as was mentioned in the presentation yesterday by Sean Fouché, so that we basically coordinate all the efforts in cybersecurity along a common line. In local content, a good part of local content in our area is getting the governments to provide information. So we've been assisting member governments with e-government plans. We've been actively supporting open data initiatives, and in fact we hope to have a World Bank sponsored open data project being coordinated by the CTU in short order to support efforts already in place elsewhere. We have an ongoing liaison with the broadcast industry as well with respect to digital broadcasting and digitization of content distribution. So there was some discussion on that yesterday in one of our sessions. Public awareness, we continue with our CIGF. The road shows will mention, the Caribbean ICT road shows, which we have taken to at least 80 countries and done it at least 22 times, multiple workshops, seminars, briefings, and so on. And in the research area, we pursued partnerships with various organizations and trying to enable our regional governments to do evidence-based policy making. And we will, in fact, continue to do that. So our forum here, this Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, it's an advisory forum. It's a non-hierarchical, multi-stakeholder forum that we convene and have convened for the past 12 years. Focus on harmonizing IG policy, focus on addressing IG matters of priority, and this way we create a pathway to influence the policymakers in government. We've been more than just a preparatory meeting for the IGFs, but we are now pursuing synergies with the global and regional IGFs, and in particular in this area of promoting national multi-stakeholder mechanisms. This was a new approach we decided to take from 2014, and it's good to see that the global environment and what we are trying to do align. So it makes good sense for us to work together and increase our common influence. So the new approach in terms of national multi-stakeholder fora is for us to look at building communities of interest. And the bullets on this particular chart are some of the possible groups that we can approach or tap to do this. Right? Whether we have ISOC chapters, whether we develop a national IGF, various special task forces, advocacy groups. That's IT Managers for Development, which is actually a group that was mentioned to us in our CIGF 2 years ago, or various computer societies that might exist in our national jurisdiction. These are possibly some of the communities of interest that we can approach to build these national multi-stakeholder groups. And so we get a community interest to execute national internet governance activities, like continuous awareness, recognition, progressive education, special projects. Our SG has proposed that maybe we could advocate a project that is called IPv6 Nation, making our various nations fully ready and adoptive of IPv6. CERTs, we heard about CERTs yesterday, DNSSEC and other specific areas. So these are possible areas of focus for national internet governance groups, which can feed into the regional forum in terms of harmonized policy making, and which can influence similar developments on the global stage. This is a pictorial diagram of our new approach. At present, we have the CTU basically convening CIGF, under which we do consultations, we do planning, capacity building, and so on. But with the new approach of building national IGFs or multi-stakeholder groups, the intention is for these national multi-stakeholder groups to actually do work with various stakeholders to do the same sort of outreaches, plannings, capacity building, executing projects, and so on. Because what we have found in the years that we've done the CIGF is that while it's all well and good that we issue the policy recommendations, there needs to be a follow-up at the national level to actually ensure that things get done on the ground. So this is why we are taking this new approach and basically having the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum with the CTU still involved with all the same multi-stakeholder environment, but also instituting a new establishment called the Internet Governance Institute. And the terms of reference of this group, which would be sort of the regional coordinator of both the CIGF and the national IGF efforts. We are still finalizing, say, the terms of reference for this to basically float the idea out there and see, and for us to get support and sponsorship actually. So what is certain, however, is that the new approach is to push the development of national multi-stakeholder groups, whether we call them national IGFs or whatever. So in the future, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be focusing on that, and we'll pursue our synergies with the regional and global IGFs in that regard. We'll consider changes to any convening or internal governance arrangements for our CIGF. As I said, we'll see what basis we have for affiliation with the other IGFs, and see whether in the new scheme of things where we talk about the Internet Governance Institute and so on, whether we need to formalize a terms of reference for the CIGF. We haven't sought to do that up to this point, but it might be advised, and in fact, we can take feedback from the group in terms of doing that. So we have an opportunity tomorrow afternoon to consider these types of questions and make recommendations or see what consensus we can build in the group as we move forward. These last two slides really just, I think, summarize pretty much what has been said. We'd consider our CIGF future options, continue focusing on Caribbean priority areas, and try to enhance ongoing collaboration by working with our Caribbean stakeholders and the thrust towards national multi-stakeholder structures. So this is where we've come from in terms of 2005 to now. We are pursuing a new approach over the past 2 years, and it is a happy situation that this approach aligns with the regional and global efforts at this time, and we will seek to make sure that we all work together to take forward the internet governance processes and the development of the internet. Accelerate, in fact, according to the theme of our forum, accelerate the development of the internet in the Caribbean. What can you do? You can all get involved, and you can tell others about it as well. Right? Make your voice heard. As we mentioned, in the internet governance world, individuals and organizations can have an impact. Right? So you can encourage your organization to get involved. Even if your organization is not getting involved, you as an individual can get involved. You can right now download and review the policy framework from the CTU website, and you can actively participate in this 12th CIGF over the next couple of days. And if you want to submit comments by email to the CTU, just email your feedback to cigf@ctu.int, and they'll be taken into account. So with that, I thank you very much, and I hope that with this background you understand well what our forum is about, and you are suitably energized.